And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Life from the Inside Out. And last time we just had a fantastic episode. Kris was really introducing some really a new way to look at things through the ideas of mindset mastery. And yeah, I am intrigued to see if maybe we build on that a little bit. We really weave together, with things like vision boards and uh, different probabilities, and if we're not moving in that direction, how we could use this idea of mindset mastery and recognizing our mindsets to get congruent and start turning those visions into and dreams into reality. So I want to hear more.
Cool. Well, we'll let him do his thing.
All right. Well, yeah. Sorry to not give you too much time, Serge.
Indeed, we trust that you are comfortable, and we thank you for your consideration.
Oh, thanks, Kris.
To continue on the subject of mindset, look at it this way, perhaps. You are going through the educational system. You go through kindergarten, grade school, high school, college, university. But what if someday in university you decide, well, I'm not going to do that today. Today, I will come in as a toddler. I want to study university, but with the mindset of a toddler in kindergarten. And I would throw my papers and crayons around. I will make a tantrum and scene. I want to get dressed and go to play yard. And I want to tease my classmates. And I want to graduate this way. What do you think will happen to that individual?
Well, I don't think they're going to graduate. I don't think they're going to make it.
Indeed. So they have not, or they are not adapting to their present situation. They are not allowing themselves to transform into what is required for their situation. So it may not be the best analogy of all time. However, it does carry the point. Your mindsets are not, quote unquote, set in stone. Your mind is not cement. It is not stone. In fact, your mind is extremely malleable. But if you don't afford it its own abilities, then you are the one that's going to be left in the dust. If you do not allow yourself to grow into who you can be, you will simply always be who you are now. And we want to make a distinction. We want to clearly put this into category of someone who is resisting change, who is resisting the natural transformative impulse of the human being. And that sometimes would encompass about 90% of the people on your planet, which is where a great deal of difficulties come from, ignoring the natural abilities of the mind and the self to continue transforming and evolving into more than what they were yesterday. The whole point of such an exercise is that you literally have unlimited potential. You are only wanting to explore and exploit one or two of your potentials, but you want the whole kit and caboodle too at the same time. And it doesn't necessarily work that way. So you have to be able to recognize what kind of mental patterns and behavior are putting a stumbling block in your physical experience. Otherwise, you will always be repeating same old, same old. It is like an old record, the old 33 RPM or 45 RPMs, and the needle gets stuck in the groove. And it always plays the same thing, always plays the same thing, always plays the same thing over and over again. That is not a playlist. It's just the same groove going around and around all the time. And until that can be recognized, you can't stop it. It will just keep playing until you recognize same old, same old. It's just repeating itself. You want it to stop. And there are definite ways to do that. And one of them is to immediately recognize what is happening in your life. And in particular, we're not talking about the physical life, but your mental life. Your mental life is life. Everything outside of you is a reflection of that. So your life goes on inside your mind. And once you recognize the patterns that are repeating, then you can take necessary steps to diffuse that energy field that blocks everything but that out of your experience. So we have offered in the past things like the AAA. We have offered our own tapping, which are excellent ways. There is also EFT and many, many other processes that can help you in that direction. But the main point is, if it keeps going on unrecognized, then you are distinctly at a disadvantage. So you want to flip that so that you are at an advantage. You want to change or flip that script and create something that is open-ended, that gives life, that recognizes your own beautiful spiritual nature, where your self-worth, self-esteem is front and foremost in your experience. And that doesn't mean you're becoming a selfish person. It simply means that you are recognizing that you are the most important person in your life. That is often ignored, tossed aside. There are more important issues, supposedly. And yet, without recognizing such a simple thing, those issues will consume you, and you will still be back at square one, unable to move forward in your life. So you want to no longer give energy to what you don't want. The old adage that you get what you concentrate is spot on. And this has nothing to do with the conscious thoughts that you are thinking. It has to do with what is happening in the background, that constant internal white noise, that dialogue that keeps going on between you and all of your various situations, that inner conversation you have with yourself that says, oh, I am an idiot. I am unworthy. I am a klutz. I am this. I am a failure. I am no good. I am unlovable. All of these things create a powerful influence. And we mentioned this some time ago for a very good reason, because you are the most influential person in your life. No one else is as influential in your life because you are giving yourselves directions. You are going on about being a failure, a klutz, no good, unlovable, blah, blah, blah. So your sweet, powerful mind says, oh, this is what Charlie wants. Oh, let's give it to them. And there it is. Apparently, evidence that, yes, Charlie is a klutz, is unlovable, is not smart, is not powerful. These associative powers of the mind are not there again to minimize you, to thwart you, or to discount you. It is there to show you that what you put in your mind becomes what you live, becomes what you are. So if you no longer like what is going on, then change that script, change those commands, change that programming. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, and I think it connects to some conversations we had with the Law of Attraction series with Myrna about identity, and you use the idea of the thinker, and so there's just this really ultimate. If we understand ourselves as that which is giving energy to the thoughts, and that sort of concentration, um, rather than not identifying as the thoughts themselves, as being like kind of understanding as the thinker, then we kind of get to the root level of uh, what we're concentrating upon, and how to move that direction.
Indeed, there is that part of you that considers itself the thinker. But there is another part of you that knows it is the observer. The observer notices streams of thoughts coming in and out of your personal consciousness on a continual basis. You may become aware of the observer, so you zoom in on what is being observed, on the thoughts, and you think, oh, this is what I am. Therefore, I am the thinker, but you are the observer. So this kind of identification can also be used to your advantage. First of all, stop thinking the kinds of thoughts, the kinds of programs that you've been feeding yourself that are no longer nurturing your life. Switch the script. Start observing and selecting those kinds of thoughts that support you, that nourish you, that love you. And you will see things start to take a very different turn, an important turn, a turn that says, I am worthy and a worthwhile individual, and I choose to create a reality, to create an experience that supports everything I am in those terms. A simple process of observation in that way can go a long way to dealing with the subject matter, to experience a sense of appreciation for oneself, in turn, appreciation for others, and make it so that the kinds of thoughts you bring into your particular orbit, if you like, are all about nurturing love, self-worth, and so on and so forth. Everything else can go out of that field, no longer in your orbit. So you utilize the powers of the mind, we will just use the term for the sake of it, into your gravitational field to orbit around you, So that is all that there is in your mind. So once you cut off that kind of a power to those particular states and mindsets, they do move on out of your field of perception. And such a simple set of processes can make a world of difference to the world that you want to live in and enjoy yourself. So this is very, very basic what we have described. And there is more involved, but at least for the time being, it gives you an inkling that, first of all, you are not destined or fated for failure, for being unlovable, for being not good enough. You are none of those things. So it gives you a little bit of insights in how the mind functions. And as we suggested earlier, these associative properties of the mind are really what you call law of attraction. Mm-hmm. So it has been with your species since you began being your own species. That is how you create your worlds and realities. You use those uniquely powerful components of the mind that works in conjunction with the brain. So your neurology is influenced by your linguistics, and that in turn affects your experience. So that is mind-body integration in our simplistic manner.
Yeah, and that's an intriguing thing with the law of attraction idea, or the associative process being together or being here for forever. Are there examples of other civilizations or cultures, or how they have used this? Because lots of people seem to be unaware of it in our time.
All the civilizations that have appeared on your plane, and we should clarify that. Some seem to have appeared and then disappeared, but they still exist. They are simply out of your field of perception. But all of them utilize the same principle. The mind is not tied to the brain. The brain is an interface between mind and body. The mind is interfaced between self and brain. So you have nested interfaces. They all work in conjunction. All beings have, to varying degrees, the same components. Even those who are non-physical utilize certain aspects of the mind that may be so far removed from your concepts of the mind, you would not be able to actually grok that. But by speaking about your minds and the integration of mind and body, you get an inkling of your own potential. Imagine that to the 10th power, if you like, for individuals like ourselves and others still. And there are other kinds of beings who would find it extremely incomprehensible to have what you consider a human body and to restrict yourselves in that particular way. And we did say you restrict yourselves on the basis of experimentation to discover exactly how your mental powers and prowesses function. So there are some beings who simply cannot fathom how they could do that, because they are so accustomed to and kind of free-flowing, we will say ultra intelligence. They would not want to deal with this kind of situation. But your species, all the souls that come onto this plane, and that is not limited to just the things that you see in your present modern world, those particular souls that incarnate into your physical forms are brave on another kind of level. They are willing to undergo this kind of experimentation because it also helps countless other beings, such as those who may not be able to fathom how you could do that, to understand their own mental properties and the chemistry that comes with it that creates their realities. So you are doing in many ways a service for many beings and many levels of beings simultaneously. And of course, that does not make you martyrs. That makes you explorers. You are willing to explore a true wilderness of consciousness. You are willing to populate that particular plane of consciousness in such a way that you design your realities with almost bare minimum, bare bones properties. So you are, in many ways, groundbreakers.
Yeah, that's some deep.
You are those kind of scouts that do a reconnaissance mission.
Yeah, and it's interesting because then us exploring that kind of speaks a little bit to that those nested relationships you're talking about. It sounds like we're part of other types of those nested relationships as well.
Indeed, you are not just physical beings. You are also non-physical beings undertaking this particular adventure, not only for others, but for yourselves. You have an almost unfathomable curiosity about consciousness. You want to find out what the mechanics of it are, what the mechanisms and the dynamics are, in ways that others are not willing to explore. So you are doing that for yourselves first and foremost. And in exploring in this way, many others benefit simultaneously. But first and foremost, you are doing it because you want to discover what the dynamics of this thing called physical reality is. This particular kind of dream state that is so concentrated upon it appears real. And the dream state itself appears to be nothing more than a nuanced brain fog. And yet it is another aspect of dream time. It is just that you concentrate more on it than anything else. Now, we also want to quickly mention, in the previous discussion, we did this deliberately, and we are aware that you caught it when we refer to ourselves as I. You and I have discussions. Do you recall that?
Yes, I heard that now that you mention it. Mm-hmm.
And what were your thoughts at that moment?
Well, you usually use the word we. I'm gonna have to process that for a moment.
Indeed. Normally, we refer to ourselves as we, ourselves. It has only happened in a few instances in 40 years where we utilized I. Simply put, we are multiple, and at the same time, everything comes through Joseph's perception, not only of himself, but of ourselves. So every once in a while, we inject something to make him wonder, what is this? And it is, shall we simply say, beneficial for his constitution, because that allows yet another kind of rethinking about what all of this is. So it keeps him on his toes.
I was thinking about this kind of idea. Maybe this has been interesting discussion at some point of in Jungian philosophy or psychology. There's the idea of like holding opposites simultaneously. So I've often thought that we're kind of simultaneously like we and I at the same time.
You all are.
Yeah.
You are, as we suggested the other evening, you are composite beings. Your idea of identity and personality are almost one-dimensional, which presents a contradiction, because you consider yourselves multidimensional beings, but you act and think in unidimensional terms. And becoming more and more aware of this apparent contradiction pushes the boundaries. You begin to push against the boundaries that you have established about your sense of self and identity. You question the nature of your own being, which is necessary. That also allows transformation at the level of identity, at the level of personality. And that is also part of the process of transformation. Now, we have utilized this before. Since you like eagles, the story goes along the lines of the great wind blowing in the trees where there is an eagle nest, and one egg falls to the ground but does not break. And it falls near the farmer and his chicken coop. So the chickens, being very nice chickens, bring it into the hen house because it is an egg. So they will hatch it. And the eagle, along with the chicks, hatches. And all of its life, the eagle lives with the chickens, identifies with the chickens, and follows chicken protocol. And even when the baby eagle looks up at the sky and sees its own kind flying, and perhaps wishing it could do that someday, of course, all the other chickens following the protocol will say, "Oh, will you stop that? You are a chicken. Chickens do not fly. Go back to pecking the ground and scratching it. This is what chickens do." So the eagle is conditioned to think in terms of a chicken. Yet the eagle can fly a mile above and see the ground in ways very few can observe. So the conditioning in this way is not only about your lives, it is also about your identity, your personality. You are conditioned to believe that this is what you are. You are packaged just like a factory end product, and that is all there is to you. Even though you may feel inside that you can become so much more than your programming kicks in every time you want to go there. It says, no, 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 no. You are a chicken. Just come back here and be chicken. Do not be eagle, even if you are an eagle, because you were brought up as a chicken. Your personality, your identity is chicken. So you would have to break free of that particular conditioning that you can only do what everybody else has told you to do, what the system wants you to be, and so on and so forth. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, yeah, it makes sense. Mm-hmm.
So you are always able to be more than what you were yesterday, as long as you're willing to take the risk and break that mold, break those barriers. So the question is, are you a chicken or are you an eagle? The choice is yours.
Well, I don't know. I was gonna I don't want to put chickens down. I think I'm more of an
Chickens are
eagle.
very fine on their own, but an eagle is not a chicken.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking in terms of aspects, we probably have some chicken aspects and when we're dancing around like the funky chicken or something like that, but there's
In-
parts of us that need to soar and break through those barriers. So
Indeed. And those are the aspects in the background that say, oh, will you stop thinking like an eagle because you're a chicken? Just scratch the ground and peck the ground and lay eggs and be chicken.
yeah.
So that is all part of your identity. You determine what you want to be. And with that, we return Joseph to your eagle eye. And we thank you for your consideration.
All right. Thanks, Kris.